Hello, fellow traders. 'Tis I, the Rumpled One. It's December 1st, 24 days till Christmas. Missed and future pivots. There's a few traders out there that talk a lot about missed pivot points, and then I created what I call the future pivot. It's really simple. So let's take a quick look here. I wrote a couple of pivot indicators. First, I wrote a little one that just used comments, missed pivots, where I found the pivots, and I found also, it's funny though, I have to make a little coding change there, works on D1, or works on all the different time frames, but we want to focus on D1. So you can see here, these were all the missed pivots. So after I wrote that, I said, So I created a missed pivots indicator and a missed pivot bars ago. They pretty much all tell you the same thing, just in different ways. You get different views. So what's the pivot? It's the previous day's high, low, and close added together. Then you divide that by 3. And in the TRO mid dots indicator, what I did was I added a pivot dot. Okay, so that's the purple dot. So that's these purple dots here. Those purple dots. That's the pivot. And you can see today, so far, the dollar yen hasn't hit the pivot. You can see it hit the pivot yesterday and the day before, but then a couple of days ago, we had a missed pivot. Now, the thing about a missed pivot, you see here, we missed this pivot on this particular day, but look what happened the next day. It came through and it hit it. So this one has been wiped out. So that's why this particular indicator isn't showing it, because this one is set. This one, I call it the missed pivots plot. It's a lot like HL5. In fact, I just took a copy of HL5 and changed a few things. You see, it says only show not crisscrossed. In other words, if it's been hit, don't show it crisscrossed. Okay, which means if the low is below it and the high is above it, it crisscrossed that line. So it missed it on this day but hit it on this day, so it doesn't show up here, but over here it will show up. On this is called just missed pivots, and then this one here that plots the line, I call that the missed pivots plot. And then of course an MP indicator, bars ago pivot. So from here you can see that if you would have gone long on this particular day, it opened below at the current pivot, and then it proceeded and it took out the previous day's pivot that had been missed. So this is something we call fading the gap. This is fading the pivot. And so once it hits it, then that fade trade is over. So we've got about an hour and 20 minutes before the end of the session. Maybe the yen hits it, maybe it doesn't, but chances are on tomorrow it's going to come down and take out that pivot at 113.66. So that's what I'm looking forward to, is that it's going to come down and take out that pivot. So that's pretty simple. We can, of course, we can look at other pairs. Let's see. Let's check out the euro. Okay, the euro missed pivots a long time ago, way up here. So you can see it missed it the first one 9 bars ago. So let's look at the beast. Another missed pivot right there. And here's a missed pivot. Actually, maybe we can just click on through. 5 days ago. Okay. Here, the previous day, it missed that pivot yesterday, November the 30th. So it's possible that this pivot will get taken out. You can see here, this pivot right there has been crisscrossed. It took it 1, 2, 3 days to get there. But that's the trade. And here's another one that was missed, and it took it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days to take out that pivot. Here's one 51 days ago. Still hasn't taken that pivot out. So that's how we trade it. Now, as far as future pivots, what I did was, let's turn off the plot indicator. Let's turn on HL5. And we want the pivot. We only want to show ones that are not crisscrossed. And we want to use daily. And let's look at, we just need to look at a couple bars for what I'm going to show you. Okay, what didn't I do right? HL5. Show lines. Show pivot. Did I break the indicator somehow? That's what it probably was right there. Yeah. I didn't need to have that on. So what I want to show you here and it's going to be hard to see it on this particular, let's see, FPP. This is the future pivot, and as you can see, as price move, this moves. This takes today's high, low, and close, adds them up, divides it by 3, and calculates the future pivot, because that's what tomorrow's pivot, when tomorrow starts, that's going to be tomorrow's pivot point. So what you can do is you can use this to take a look at which way price will probably break. You can see the future pivot point, tomorrow's pivot, is above today's pivot. So chances are the dollar yen is going to probably break one way and then come back the other way. That's just the way price likes. Price just likes to hit these pivot points. And if you look at a daily chart, you can see by the number of lines, actually we turned that off, but if you remember those other ones, you can see by the number of pivot lines that showed there was only a few, just a handful of pivots that hadn't been taken out. So knowing this, you can see where it closes at the end of the session. You can target it. That would be a take profit area, and then you can also target this way. So if you're long, you're going to go for the future. If you're short, you're going to go for the current pivot point. And we can take a look at some other pairs here. You can see the future pivot points right around the low. These lines are stepping on each other. In fact, what I can do here in HL5, since we're really only concerned with the pivots, we can turn these off. And there it is. The future pivot, today's pivot. As you can see, that line's been crossed. So chances are, sometime tomorrow, dollar Canadian will see this level. Let's take a quick look at the pound dollar. Future pivot and the current pivot. And as you can see, we haven't hit that pivot on the pound. And did we look at the euro? Here we go. The euro future pivot is right here. Euro's here near R1, so chances are it's going to come back down this way. Let's see. Dollar franc has had a lot of activity. You can see here it took out the pivot. Here's the future pivot, so look for it to make a run up to this area sometime tomorrow. Got about an hour and 15 left in the day. So that's the future and the missed pivots. And once again, this particular indicator, that just the missed pivots, just shows you can switch this over today, or if you want, you can even also look at the weekly pivots. Okay, and the HL5 indicator, if we show the gauge, it shows you which pivot was missed. Okay, that's on D1. We can switch this over. We can switch it to the week, and you can see, and also for the bars ago, we can switch that to the week. You can always switch it to current too, and then that way when you change the time frame of the chart, these would correspond. But sometimes I like to make them so they're fixed, because I might switch between the hour chart, the 5-minute chart, and back to the daily, and I don't want to be looking at 5-minute pivot points. So there you have it. Those are the missed and future pivots. So I hope that helps you. Actually, I haven't posted or sent out those indicators yet. It's just the first day of the month. So give me a few days. I'll probably have the donationals out by the end of the week. I'm thinking I usually do those over the weekend. And as far as posting the other ones, I have to decide if I'm going to post them or just send them out to those who donate. As always, it's not what you trade, fellow traders. It's how you trade it. TheRumpledOne signing out.